All right, Ryan, I appreciate you, buddy. I'm going to start the recording now. Hopefully she worked great this last week, and we're thankful for that. Hey, buddy, how you doing? And we're going to rock and roll here in about 30 seconds, and it's good to see everybody this evening. All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Kerry Miller. We have a lot of new faces in the webinar tonight, and it's good to see everyone. We're filling up very rapidly. So make sure that you do not lose your seat because you may not get back in. Wasn't expecting this large of a crowd this evening. I hope your questions, you've been able to write your questions down. We're going to have a good time tonight, and we're going to go as long as you have your questions. So real quick, we're going to take care of some of our housework. If you haven't joined our YouTube channel, join our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Instant App Wizard. That's youtube.com/Instant App Wizard. That's where all of our trainings are uploaded first. You get the email in your box, and you know right when it's there. Also, like us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Instant App Wizard. If you have not signed up for our message reminders for training, please do so. Pick up your phone and dial 727-478-1343 and type app call APPCALL. And if you don't remember if you signed up, go to instantappwizard.com/training and ensure that you do. If you have not joined our Facebook group and you have to have a Facebook page or Facebook something, okay, in order to join, but go to facebook.com/groups/Instant App Wizard. That's where a lot of the great ideas and everything comes to fruition. Actually, that's how we came up with Menufy.com. You guys wanted, we searched, we found, and everything looks like it's going to be working great. Tonight we are going to be talking about Menufy.com. We started last week, was our first webinar. We're going to have them back on next week. And tonight I can always see, and it always happens, tonight's questions will be thin until you realize what it's about, and then next week you'll come in fully loaded for bear. And Ashish is going to be back with us next week. Let me just introduce Ashish real quick. Is Ashish Desai. You can see here he has an unbelievable background here to BS, and he's laughing, I see that. But he's got a BS in biology, has over a decade of experience in restaurant operations and management after working in the industry throughout his undergraduate years, and then serving as a manager at Sticks Sushi and Hibachi. And if you've been to Menufy.com, you've actually seen Sticks Sushi and Hibachi. You know, the great thing about Ashish, man, he's willing to help. He's willing to be here. And not only that, I've had an opportunity to spend a lot of time on the phone with him. And he's a great guy. And, you know, there's always one thing I've always learned. If you want to partner up with a great company, you partner up with great people first. And everything else seems to fall in place. And fortunately, Menufy.com has both. I've spoken with their support staff after 6 o'clock to see what kind of information I can get. They answer the phone, which is unbelievable because most places don't. And the support guy there, he knew as much as anybody I've talked to at the company. So that tells me right there, when your clients call in, they're going to get the straight up and they know what they're talking about. So without further ado, Ashish, welcome to the call, my friend.
Hey, everybody. Pleased to be here. Go ahead and, you know, I'll try to keep things short. I have a ton of information, so while the questions go through, I'll try to be specific and then also maybe touch on a few subjects that may pertain to the actual question itself, to the question itself. So I'll try not to ramble, but, you know, and we're all in sales, so we know we have tons of information about our product.
So who's up first there? Give us a question. Let's throw a question out of the box. I can tell you one of the questions that I've had all week. What is the best calling times on restaurants? What's the best time to call on a restaurant to get in front of the decision makers or the managers, someone that's going to actually be able to sit down with you and see what we've got?
Yeah, definitely. So I'll give you, first of all, the times you want to avoid. And I think they're pretty obvious. You want to avoid, you know, your 12 o'clock to 1:30. That's your lunch period. 11 o'clock is okay. You won't catch everyone at 11 o'clock, but, you know, like 10:45. Most restaurants will open at 11 o'clock. You can get a lot of resources from if they have existing websites or even Google Maps, Yelp, Yahoo, that kind of stuff will have their hours of operation. You probably want to do it before they open or just after their lunch rush, which is around 1:30 till 4 is a good pocket of time. I would avoid Saturdays altogether. Fridays are iffy, but if you are going to do Fridays, I'd shorten the window to from probably about 2 o'clock till 3:30.
Did everybody catch that? Any questions on the time frames there? Ask now, forever hold your peace. No questions? I'll tell you what, Ashish, why don't you go ahead and just start covering a few things, and I know that will create questions. That's normally the way it rolls. Okay. So just go ahead and you could tell us about selling the product and the things that you have.
Okay. So like one thing, the greatest opposition is really getting a hold of a decision maker. If you have a command of the product, as soon as you get a hold of the restaurant owner and you actually have a one-on-one audience, there's a really high chance if you're armed with all the information about the company that you're going to be able to close that deal. The main things that you'll want to really understand and the questions that you're going to get the most are going to be about payment, how orders are received, and how it pertains to their existing web presence, their existing website. And then, of course, the main question that you're going to get is going to be price structure. So let me just dive into the price structure real quick. And it's super simple, but there's a few nuances that you should be able to understand that way. If you can tell that the restaurant owner is really not liking the, paying an extra $1.25 for online orders, you can shift the sale to just keep in mind that you can charge your online customers the $1.25 instead of charging the restaurant. So basically the way our price structure works is anytime somebody orders online, we charge $1.25. So there's no setup fee, there's no cancellation fee. The only fee that we have is $1.25, and that's anytime somebody orders online. Now, the restaurant can either pay the $1.25 or they can pass that $1.25 on to their users. More than 50% of our restaurants charge the user. So you may get restaurants that say, I don't know if people are going to order online if they pay an extra if they have to pay an extra $1.25. And basically, the argument for that is our competitors charge 10% and over. So the $1.25 is really not a whole lot. If you have an order that's $12, that's 10% of the order. So anything above that is less than our competitors. Now, the restaurant will have the opportunity to either pay the $1.25, charge it to their end users, or they have a third option. They can pick the threshold at which the restaurant pays the $1.25. So let me repeat that. They have the opportunity to absorb the $1.25 cost at whichever threshold they want. So for example, they can say, make my settings so that if somebody orders $20 or more, the restaurant will pay the $1.25. If the orders are $20 or less, go ahead and charge the end user, because the restaurant owner will deem what is worthy to pay an extra $1.25 for the restaurant. Anything else, you want to just convince them that the users are just fine with paying, which is actually the truth. Users are used to paying for Ticketmaster, concert tickets, just about anything that you pay for online has slightly inflated costs, even like airline tickets. They're going to have a slightly manipulated higher cost just because you're online. They have to pay somebody for that. So right. That's a pretty common argument. Now there is one. Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, while you're on that $1.25, let me ask a question. Can the restaurant charge more than $1.25 to cover, say, the delivery cost? Can that be set above the $1.25?
So the delivery fee, all that stuff is worked out with the restaurant. So if they have a delivery, and their delivery ranges are actual maps that they can draw. So they can draw a map that's really close to their restaurant and make that free delivery. They can draw a map that's 6 miles out and make that $4 for delivery. they can draw a map around a neighborhood that they really don't like to go to and make it whatever amount they want. So delivery fees are something that we'll figure out with them. Basically, if they have a delivery fee, we're going to make sure that it's within their interface. So as soon as somebody looks to order online, if they select delivery, their delivery fee is going to be listed pretty obviously.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing that I didn't mention is, so as far as price structure, there is the $1.25. That's strictly the user fee. Now the other, there is one other fee, and that is if the online user pays with a credit card, there is a credit card fee, and that fee is fixed. It is always the same. So restaurant owners are used to variable rates. Whether you swipe the card, whether you type in the number, if it's 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, if it's Discover, MasterCard, Visa, they have tons of variable rates. So they may be used to that. So you want to reiterate with them, our credit card fees are always fixed. They're going to be 2.5% and 30 cents per transaction. And that is only if the customer pays with credit card. I like to word it by saying, it's 2.5% and 30 cents if the customer pays with credit card. Now, if the customer pays with cash, there is no credit card fee. If you're charging the $1.25 to the user and the customer pays with cash, then that transaction is free for you. It's just like a regular cash transaction in store. The question that sometimes comes up with restaurant owners is they'll say, can I take only cash? Can I offer only cash? And the answer to that is just a hard no. If you give them any kind of soft, I don't know, let me check, they'll walk all over you. So you need to be firm with them and say, no, you have to have credit card. You do not have to have cash. So if the restaurant does not want to accept cash, which is about 50% of the time, they'll say, I don't want to accept cash. I want to make sure that payment is processed before anybody walks into my restaurant. Because basically they're trying to get order accuracy, and they're also trying to reduce fraud. They don't want someone calling in an order with $60 worth of pizza and then falling asleep and not picking it up. And if it's a cash order, they're basically, SOL. And if if it's a credit card transaction, we actually have already processed that card. We have a huge paper trail of what they paid for, and if they didn't come pick up that pizza, that's their own fault. So a lot of restaurant owners like that order security aspect. When somebody orders online, they've already paid. So you have the two options. You don't always have to push the cash. It does help increase their sales. It's kind of nice to not have the credit card fees if if somebody wants to pay cash. But that's not always the case with restaurant owners. So you're going to have to make sure that they understand that there's a little bit of flexibility there.
Okay. Yes, Ryan. The $1.25 is always charged. That's per order, and they can pass that on to the consumer. And debit cards are considered a credit card payment. Is that correct, or is that considered a cash payment?
No, that's a debit card will just be just like a credit card.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Yes, Kim. Part of the setup is setting up the banking. I went over that on the last week's. It's on the registration form. On the bottom of the form, there is the routing number and the banking number, the account number, and that information that's needed to be filled out in order for them to do tests. It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever done PayPal, but PayPal will send you like 0.01 cents and 0.03 cents and tell you to look in your account and see how much was deposited, and then you'll go back in and type that in. Menufy does the same thing. They verify the accounts. Menufy takes care of all of that. You do not have to handle any of that. They will handle all of the setup and make sure that all the transactions are being displaced in the right place.
Yep. And you can actually let them know that we are not authorized to remove any money from bank accounts. We can only do one directional ACH deposit. So they'll be getting their deposits daily, weekly, every 2 weeks or every month, depending on how they want to set it up through me. All of those options are free, except for daily deposits are $10. It's not something that comes up a whole lot, but that's something that you want to probably just be aware of. And then, if they do ask a lot of questions and they really seem like they want daily deposits, just let them know that, hey, it's just an extra $10, and the reason we charge that is, basically because ACH isn't free, and we'll be doing essentially just $10 worth of direct deposits that month. So we charge it to our users. But if they want weekly deposits, if they want every 2 weeks or every month, those are all just free. So it's just a kind of a standard. Along with those ACH deposits, so the deposits are always on Thursdays for the weekly deposits, and the biweekly as well, and the monthly, they'll always be on a Thursday. They will receive a report the day before their deposit goes through. So they'll get a statement in their email, and if they have a fax, they'll also get a statement in their fax that lets them know every single order that's going into that deposit, which ones are cash, which ones are credit, and then it'll be itemized. So it's going to even say the customer's name, and it'll say how much they paid, and then how much minus credit card fees is going to be in the deposit. So there's a ton of transparency. We also have a manager account where they're going to be able to get on, and they're going to be able to look up sales. They're going to be able to refund orders. They're going to be able to track their sales for 5 years, like basically however long they've had service. So there's a lot of other functionality in our manager pages.
Now, can they do that online, or do they have to have the little Android system?
No, yeah, they can do that online.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Most. In fact, the manager account's going to have more features than the tablet system. The tablet's pretty basic, just going to be able to refund orders, add tips, and track sales, and that's about it. But then the manager account's going to have a lot more. They can print monthly reports and do all sorts of stuff.
Yes, last week's training is posted in Facebook and also in your inside the training section of your platform. It's already been posted. Is that $10 per deposit? $10 per month? Is that correct? It's $10 per month when they want the daily. Okay.
Right.
And that's just a one-time monthly fee.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of times, if they want to start with daily, let them know that they should talk to the Menufy rep about it. But it's really not something you want to do. You don't want to check a deposit 30 times a month. You want to check a deposit twice a month, once or 4 times a month. Way easier than to check every single day. So I kind of, even when they want the daily, I kind of just stray them away from the daily deposit.
Right. Okay. Let's see here. I have one passed me up here. It's kind of lengthy. Will we be able to embed the business's app code into his menu site so when people search on their phone, they get the app with the order online link? Are you interested in doing large menus like Chinese? They will do any size menu. The menu doesn't matter. That's correct. I mean, you're not limited on a menu. I mean, if a place has 1,000 items, you can do a menu. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Ashish?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never seen a menu that we couldn't do. There are some restrictions, like we won't be doing coupons, and we definitely won't be doing catering. So those are a lot of times people will be trying to basically fit a circle into a square, and they'll be trying to use Menufy for catering purposes, but that's not going to work because we actually don't have a pre-ordering system. These are all for live orders. So even their order confirmations and everything are all done live. So catering won't work because somebody could essentially order a $500 order at 7 o'clock on a Saturday, and they're just not going to be able to fill it.
One of the questions here, part of this question is, we have a code that if a person's website isn't responsive, if it's unreadable online, we can actually embed that code in the header, and it will actually redirect them to the app versus taking them to the website. And I know you guys at times build the website. Now, if they've got their own webmaster, we have to go to their webmaster. If you guys are building their website, is all of your websites responsive?
They're all fully mobile.
Okay.
So there's never going to be a case where they're not Android and Apple formatted for mobile, and even for tablets. So now, if there is like a website that needs mobile forwarding, we could do our mobile site, or if while we start working together, I did take a look at the app that Carrie sent me. So if we ever wanted to forward it directly to the app, that's doable too. Since the online ordering is still there, we might be able to just help you and work with the restaurant to,
Okay.
you know, whenever they go to the mobile version, it goes directly to that app that we saw. But that's something that we'll have to work with the restaurant, because they'll have URL access and they'll have access to their existing site, so we'll have to work with them hand in hand to do that.
Okay. And Cynthia, that one-time monthly fee, that $10 one-time monthly fee is the $10 if they want a daily deposit. It's $10 per month if they want a daily deposit additional. And that's the only fee other than the $1.25, which they pass on to their clients, or they can pass on to their clients. Next question. It's monthly, yeah, one time a month, yes. Yeah, I see where you're getting confused. That's the California in you. It's once a month. It's 12 times a year. Next question. And that was a great, you guys all have great questions. Martin Jeezy, hang on, I missed his, I think. Who is the main competition with you guys that when you go out and you find, when your salespeople are in the field, who's your main competition?
Okay, so the biggest players, and you're going to have, and I think you guys, a lot of you guys are East Coast and West Coast, so these are the ones that are going to be all over the country. The main one is going to be Grubhub. Then you'll see Campus Special, which is actually owned by Grubhub, but not too many people know that. Eat 24 Hours, Foodler, Seamless Web. Those are pretty much, and then you'll see Kydia, Beyond Menu, ChineseMenu.com. Those last three are the garbage ones. They're just terrible at everything they do. Their websites look horrible. They're not even mobilely formatted. They typically charge the 10% or an annual $500 rate. So a lot of times you're gonna, like, I suggest you do research on the restaurant before you go in. You know, if they have Grubhub, it's our order confirmation system, our deposits, almost everything we do is similar to Grubhub, outside of their outrageous, you know, 12% to 20% transaction fees. So these guys are charging literally 12% to 20%. Just a restaurant industry thing number. Typically, most restaurant owners want to operate at like a 30% profit margin, if not just above that, you know, to make their prices reasonable. So, you know, if they're working on a 30% profit margin and their online ordering company is taking 12 to 15% right off the top, they like their orders, they don't like the fees. So we beat them in the price, and then also as far as visually, everyone I've mentioned so far, except that there's one other company called Eat Street. They actually have the 10% rate as well. I forgot to mention them, eatstreet.com. You know, they all can basically process the orders the same. They typically charge more, but their websites are horribly designed, and that's not a personal thing. It's actually just, if you look at their websites, they're typically huge advertisements for that company. So a Grubhub website will have Grubhub written all over it. Eat 24-hour websites will have Eat 24-hour written all over it. So the user is very aware that they're not on the restaurant's website. They're on a website that was developed by another company to process online orders. Where we don't do that is we have a tiny, tiny logo at the very bottom of our website that say powered by Menufy. Everything else is restaurant branding. So most of our users are not even aware that they're on a non-restaurant website. They think the restaurants produce the site on their own. So the nicer restaurants that actually care about their branding, they're like, you know, if they have a really nice looking website and they have a Grubhub link, those are easily, you know, easy sells, because you can just say, look, this one looks terrible. We can get one that looks better. This one costs you 12%. We can get you one that's only $1.25, and you know, that's pretty much a sell. If no one has any other questions, one once we get done with this topic, I would like to go over how the restaurant receives the order. That's going to be one of your most common questions.
Go ahead. Yeah. They're basically listening to you, my friend.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so then, yeah, the most common question you're going to get is, how do I receive the orders? A lot of the opposition answers are going to be, I don't have a computer, or we don't have internet. Typically the first thing you'll hear. And what you want to let them know is say, you know, you don't need internet. We work with lots of different systems. We can do text message, email, fax, and a touchscreen console if they have internet. So every order, that's whether you have email, text message, fax, or the touchscreen console, is always accompanied by a phone call. It's an automated phone call in their store. So the person, as soon as they get an online order, they're going to get a phone call in their store. It's going to say, hi, you have an online order from Menufy. Please confirm your order. So the notification does not give them the order, but it does let them know that they have an order. Now, if they hang up on that first phone call and they don't do anything, they're going to get another phone call in 3 minutes, the exact same call. Now, if they hang up on that and they don't do anything, they're going to get another call in 3 minutes. And if they hang up on that and they don't do anything, within 1 minute after that, they're going to get a phone call from our support center that says, hey, we noticed that you just received an online order and the order hasn't been confirmed. Is something wrong with your fax? Is your internet down? How can we help you? And they're basically going to read the order off to them and then help diagnose the problem. So I'm going to jump back to as soon as the first phone call comes in, an ideal client will go to one of their receiving methods. So just as an example, let's say Sticks Restaurant has 3 managers, and all of their text messages are set up to receive online orders. They also have an email that's set up on a computer that their employees can access. And then they also have a fax that's in the office that is also set up to receive orders. What will happen is they'll get the phone call. It'll say, please confirm your order. So if they go to a text message or an email, once they pull up the order, there's going to be a big blue button that says press to confirm. So all they have to do is press that button and then hit yes, and that lets us know that they've received the order. They stop getting those robocalls. With the fax, what happens is there's a PIN number at the top. So the first phone call lets them know that they have an order. They'll go pick up the fax from the fax tray, and on the very top is going to be a 3-digit PIN number. So the next time they get the phone call, which will be in 3 minutes, it'll say, hi, you have an order from Menufy. Please enter your 3-digit PIN to confirm. And so they'll just enter the 3-digit PIN, and that lets us know that they have their order. So, and then with the touchscreen console, same thing. They're going to get the phone call. And then as soon as they touch the screen on the console, that lets us know that well, actually they can touch the screen, but they need to pull up that specific order. So as soon as they pull up that order, that lets us know that they've received the order, and then they receive no more phone calls. So in the event that anyone misses the phone call, they're going to have our support system call them and let them know that they've missed the order. And then if it is the 4th call, that'll be a customer support rep, and it'll actually be a person, not an automated call. And that person will help them figure out what's wrong with their online ordering. And typically it's just that they missed the phone call and they just didn't know that they had an online order. So we call them, we say, hey, you got an online order, and then they'll say, oh, sorry, I got busy, I forgot to confirm it. That PIN number is 331, and then our guys will confirm the order.
And one of the questions is, do they have to have a fax machine? No, they don't have to have a fax machine. They can have one of the 3, or 2 of the 3.
Or all of the above.
Or all of the above.
Yep, and they're all free too. So the only thing that will cost them is the tablet, and that is for you guys and anyone that you guys send our way. Those tablets are only going to be $100. Online it says $250. So we're going to do that for $100. That's basically what we pay for those. And you can let them know that that's fully refundable upon cancellation. So we don't get a lot of cancellations, but if we do get a cancellation, we give them the money back for that tablet as long as they can send that tablet back to us.
And Cynthia, to answer your question, if someone is mobile already, and I spoke of this last week, and this would be a good thing for you to look at on the training. Let me take that off so it's not double talking. What you want to look at is the marketing platform. That's what you're going to do. Marketing platform, coupons. You heard him say they don't do coupons. You want to do coupons, but the marketing platform is the center of everything that we do for the app that we're selling to these restaurants. In order for them to get their menu out to the public, marketing that menu is what's important, and making sure people order through that menu to help them increase. If you'll see in the last week's training, I believe it was, where the National Restaurant Association came out and said that text message marketing alone can add up to $8,000 a day. It's either a day or a week, I can't remember, but quite a bit of money, $8,000 a week, I believe it was, to their bottom line using just text message marketing. So what you'll want to do is that's the platform you want to sell. So have you? Mm-hmm. Ashish? Okay.
Yeah. I was waiting for you to finish.
Okay.
So do we have any questions about the order confirmation or the direct deposit?
And mistaking it for a menu. No. If they order online, if they order the menu system, Menufy takes care of everything. You don't have to take care of anything. Menufy will take care of absolutely everything when it comes to the menu. They take care of all the support. They build the site. They do everything. You do not have to worry about that whatsoever. Menufy takes care of that. You take care of the mobile app, and you take care of your marketing platform. Tell us a little bit, Ashish, if you would, about time, what it takes to get the site built, the information that you're going to need, and what we need to send to you specifically as reps in the field for you to get the site built.
Right. Okay. So I think everyone's on Menufy. If you want to click on that top tab, the Get Started tab, there's once you click Get Started, right at the top is option 1. It says sign up form. You want to get them to that, and as soon as they fill that out, the only thing is we want some kind of identifier in the sales rep section. So we're going to have to work that out with Carrie. But whatever you guys want to do as some kind of identifier. Now, if you want to put Instant App Wizard, that's fine with me. We could put something else, or you could put Instant App Wizard and then your name under the sales rep. But basically, you want to get them to that sign-up form, and then if they have any questions within that sign-up form, you should basically be able to answer that. So if they say, like, why are you asking for my bank account information? Then you need to have a quick answer that says, well, these guys do direct deposits. Most clients do weekly deposits. They can't remove any money from your account. They're only allowed to do, ACH direct deposits, and that's, they don't do paper checks, so they're going to be doing direct deposits every week for your orders, and that's why the account information is on there. The other one that you might have a question with is the EIN number is on there. That's actually their federal tax ID. And the reason we do that is actually government compliance, is we need their EIN because at the end of the year, we have to send them tax documents, like a 1099, basically letting them know how much was processed online and how much the credit card fees were. This year, the cutoff is, I think, if they produce more than $10,000 in sales, we have to send them a report. I think next year's regulations are just for anyone. It doesn't matter what the dollar amount is. So this year, if you just cannot get the EIN, it's probably not the end of the world. But we're going to have to eventually get the EINs, and it's actually just for their convenience. So they have a nice printed out report they can hand to the accountant. Other than that, most of the stuff on that form is pretty self-explanatory. Like, we'll need a menu, and we'll need. If they don't have a logo, we'll have to make one for them. But if they have a logo, they'll need to send us that. The menu, hours of operation, basically all the restaurant information should be there. So even if they submit an incomplete form, I'm still going to call, no matter what. Even if it's totally complete form, I still have to call them and introduce myself and tell them what the timeline is going to be. Our timeline on an ideal client is going to be 2 days max, and that's we can probably turn around a site in 3-4 days, or sorry, 3-4 hours if we needed to. But typically the bottleneck is within the restaurant. So they'll fill out all the registration information, but they'll leave off something like their menu. And so we can't go forward until we have the menu, because that's basically what we do, is enter menu. So we'll have to wait, and I'll have to contact them and say, hey, I got your online submission. However, the menu was missing. Is there any way you can send me a PDF of the menu or send me a fax so that way we have it? But as soon as we have all the information, our turnaround 2 days. So it's just really
this question: if let's say that we're there, we're right there. And I've told the guys and the ladies and girls and everybody else that's involved, up in the box there for sales rep, put Instant App Wizard / and their name. Let's say that they're there with the restaurant owner, and we get their menu. That way we know we've got it, because we want it to get done quickly too. That way we can tie it into our app, and we can collect, and we can make our money on the other side. Can we get the menu? Can we have a list of things that you definitely got to need? That way, as the rep, we can kind of expedite making that transition possible.
Yeah, so that's actually on the register form. Like, everything is, if they fill out the register form completely, that's all we need. Now,
okay,
if you're in the restaurant and you pull up the registration form and you want to fill out their name and their information, and you tell them, hey, I need a voided check, or I need to put in your account information, you want to walk them through all of that, that's totally fine. That's actually what our field reps do. It's way better retention than sending them an email with the registration form, or leaving the restaurant and telling them, oh, get on Menufy, click on Get Started, and fill out the form. There's a good chance that people are going to get lazy and they're not going to do it. So I certainly encourage you sitting down and filling out the information with them. That's definitely a good way to go. Now, the last thing during the registration process is going to ask you to upload a menu. If you're in the store and you have a physical menu with you, just confirm that the prices are up to date. And then what you can do is, once the sale is done, you can actually leave with that menu, and then you can scan it and send it over.
Awesome.
And you can send, you can scan it and send it over by sending it to menu@menufy.com. So that's actually where our mutual clients will be doing their menu updates. So when they have a menu update, they'll send it to menu@menufy. So it's the same situation that, if you got every bit of information except for the menu, go ahead and try to get a nice high gloss scan and send it over via email.
Okay. The next here's an excellent question, and we've had this question asked 1,000 times. When we walk,
Oops, I lost you there. I'm losing you.
Hello.
Okay, I heard the hello. That's all I got.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. My bars went down to nothing. When we walk into a restaurant, can we say we are a partner of Menufy? How do we introduce ourselves to bring the menu into the mobile app?
Right. What I would suggest, and I've never been on that side, so I'm not entirely sure, but what I would suggest is just say, we partner with this company that will be doing the online ordering aspect of this app, and if they have probably the first question is going to be why. Why do you have somebody else doing it? And I think what we've just talked about is probably the most is the stuff you should stress, that we have a support center, we have 128-bit encrypted sites, and we're going to have to be doing like ACH transfers and stuff, and the app, the people that deal with the app aren't going to want to do all that customer support and stuff. So we are just partnering with each other so that we can handle the support and online ordering aspects while you guys deal with the app and any of the other marketing that you're going to be doing.
And let me say to everybody that partnering is a huge word. That means we actually work in coordination with each other, and everything flows together. And I know we've all been confused about that. That's a whole lot better than saying we're using a third-party platform, which is what some people are saying. we're using a third-party platform. Now we can actually, and with Ashish's permission, we can actually go out and say, hey, we've partnered with Menufy. We bring you the marketing side. They bring you the online ordering side. And we've brought together a great combination of two programs that will enhance your business, increase your business, bring current customers back, and bring new customers in to increase your ROI. So, and let me tell you something, ROI for Menufy is exceptional because it don't cost you anything if they set it up correctly.
Right, yeah. I mean, as soon as the submission goes through, they'll be fully aware that they're dealing with two different companies. And then, that's why I want in the sales rep section to have something specific so I know it's coming directly from you guys. So that way, when I approach them, I'll be using the partner word as well. I'll be basically explaining to them just like the nuances between the two. We'll be doing just your online ordering, the support for that. If you have questions about your app or anything, I'm definitely not the one to ask. But yeah, as long as you guys put the in the sales rep section, as long as you put something that I know that it's from Instant App Wizard, I'll definitely make sure that they understand that we're partnering together and that the two are separate, but we definitely partner together for just about anything related to online ordering.
Okay, so then here's a good point that just came across. Each one of the people that are on tonight are independent reps. They own their own business. I'll use my example. My company is GitDigi, G-I-T-D-I-G-I. I would not want you telling my client that I'm with Instant App Wizard. So is it possible we could put like IAW so it's Instant App Wizard, and then the second name will be the actual company that is dealing with the restaurant. That way if you have to talk to them and say, hey, yeah, we've partnered with GetDigi.com, and that way you're not bringing up Instant App Wizard. We don't want that name to be used in the restaurants. And that was a very good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. It's really, it's up to you guys. I'm not actually sure, what company name and what to expect. So it's really up to you guys. Just something uniform would be nice. If it needs to be a longer, elaborate explanation, down there at the bottom of the registration form, there's a comment section. So it's called additional notes. And so if you can write, you can write a page down there for me if you need to. The more detail, the better. So if you need to say, hey, this is, we're on this web conference, and this is as long as I can figure out that it's not just an online submission, because we do get online submissions. We get them all the time. We get them every day. And so I just basically need to be able to differentiate between a random online submission or one that's been nurtured through any of you guys.
And somebody's asking a question about, go ahead.
Oh, I'll work with Carrie, and we'll figure out a nice identification system. So it's really whatever you guys want. As long as I know it's coming from you guys, that's really all I need. It doesn't have to be Instant App Wizard or anything like that.
Okay. And we'll put that together, and I'll put that out. I'll talk to Ashish tomorrow. We'll figure that out, and we'll get that all put together for you guys, and I'll post it immediately as soon as I have it.
Right, and if there's a specific company name you want me to work with, like I imagine you guys all have different ones based on.
Yes, everybody here.
So yeah, so if you want to use a specific one, that's totally fine too. I just need to know what it is, and if you put that in additional notes that this is where the lead's coming from, and that if you could use this company name, that would be helpful, then I'll certainly just use that one and say, yeah, we partner with these guys to just provide you the online ordering. Essentially the systems are going to be separate. The app will have the online ordering, and maybe at one time, the website will have the app as well. So it just kind of, as long as I know it's coming from you guys, I'll certainly bring up whatever you want me to and leave out what you don't.
And the question's up again, and I'll just reiterate. He will work with us and work with the restaurant on our redirect codes. So, and we'll get that figured out. Everybody on the call, just understand this thing's a week old for us, and it's a week old for Ashish. So there's going to be things that come up that we see. So this is what I need everybody to do. If there's things that we don't get answered tonight, and there's going to be things, because there's about 1,000 questions that's passed by that we'll never get to. And we're going to do this again next week, okay? And I'm going to go through the questions. I'm going to pull up the the Excel file, and I will pull all the questions out that have been asked tonight that I'm sure we're going to miss. And that way we can open up next week with that, and we'll make sure we get to those. But the question again was, will we be able to connect our apps, our mobile apps, if their system is not responsive? Yes, we will get that all worked out to make sure that we all are able to really, we're talking marketing here. That's what this is all about, making sure that our apps are being seen, that Menufy is being seen, that we all come together and everybody gets equal share. I saw this question too come up. Well, we don't want them to come out of our app. You cannot iframe these apps, and I don't know if that's something that you guys have put in there, Ashish, but I know that I tried iframing your app, several of your restaurant menu sites, and I'm sure it's because of the encryption codes for the menu checkout system is why your apps cannot be iframed. Is that correct?
I'm not very IT, so I imagine that's the case, but I'm not really sure.
Okay. Yeah, what they were wanting to do, and one thing I've taught for 3 years now, is try to keep them inside your app. And what we do is we'll take third-party sites and we will take an iframe and actually put it inside of our app, so it looks like it's in our app. But what happens is your app doesn't allow that to really happen. So, and I'm sure it's because of the encryption. That's 9 out of 10 times there's something in there that the encryption doesn't allow you to do that. So.
Right. If they're already on the app and they're clicking order online, it can be iframed, but I feel like sending them to the online ordering site is probably not too detrimental to your users if you're concerned about hemorrhaging users, because ours is simply just for ordering online. And then I think the app itself has all sorts of other stuff on it, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, it'll have about us, information, directions, click to call, the whole 9 yards. And two, and I put this out last week, and there's a bunch of people in here tonight that wasn't here last week. It's kind of crazy because we got a bunch of people at 7 o'clock that we never get at 8 o'clock, so this is kind of a good thing. One thing that I put out, so they're ready to go out of your app anyway. It doesn't really matter. Okay. I mean, that's the end of all ends for them to go in and order. So they're going to go out of the app anyway. They're not going to go back and look at About Us information or anything like that. And when they go into their app, you have click to call on your app also. Is that correct? You'll have the restaurant's phone number that they can go into. Yeah. So that really the apps are going to work seamlessly together as far as that goes.
And we're going to have a few more fun features on there too. As soon as they're done processing the order, they're going to get their GPS. If they're going to go pick it up, they're going to have a map pop up. And then also, once they're on ours, they'll be able to log in with their Facebook or their Google account. So there's a little bit of added stuff, but yeah, like Carrie said, once they're clicked order online, they're pretty much they're going to just want to finish their online ordering, and then that's about it. So I hope it's not going to hemorrhage any users. I don't think it will. It's just if they get on the app and they click to call, they're not on the app anymore because they wanted to place an order. So
right, absolutely. Let me get this. I saw a question go by here. I just want to answer it it's kind of something from last week here. FAQs, and I just wanted to bring that up. They was asking where do we get the information. Guys, the FAQs, I cannot stress this enough. You cannot go through those FAQs enough. And let me tell you what happened. And I mentioned this last week, and I'll go ahead and tell you, and this is what happened last week. I specifically said that somebody's going to ask about the payment system, and Ashish, that was the first thing he said is one of the questions that they have is the payment system. How do we pay, and how do we get our orders? The first question that was asked was orders. Okay, that was the first thing that was asked when. And I'll go ahead and tell you, and this is what happened last week. I specifically said that somebody's going to ask about the payment system, and the she said was the first thing he said is one of the questions that they have is the payment system. How do we pay, and how do we get our orders? The first question that was asked was orders. Okay, that was the first thing that was asked when a rep went in and brought up the menu system. It's in the FAQs. That is one of the FAQs we touched on last week. And the first question out of the restaurateur owner's mouth was, how does he get the orders? And guess what? The person that was selling did not know that answer. And guess what happened? The restaurateur said, I'm busy. Okay, he lost the sale. He was in front of the person that makes the decision, and it was over because, and she's pointed this out, you've got to walk in there loaded with the answers. If not, if you stumble 1 second, because their time is precious, they're going to end the conversation. And if you don't know, it's because you did not read those frequently asked questions. And I'm telling you, they're very well worded, they're very lined out, and every single one of them are the questions that you're going to get. So I think that's pretty correct. Am I right? Those FAQs are written for a reason.
Yeah, and just 90% of our online submissions are done without a call. So they don't call us and ask us any questions. They look through the FAQs, and it seems to field everything that they have concerns with, and they submit online without even talking to anyone. So with the FAQ, you should have a good amount of information there. And then I'll maybe next week or even today, if we have some other questions, I can certainly. Like anytime a question comes up, I'll tell you what I feel is the best answer, and then common answers and questions that you're going to get from the owners. Like a lot of just like with the weekly deposits, the daily deposits. Those are issues that I just haven't dealt with in the last year, because I've learned to take my clients away from focusing on the $10 a month and just say, look, you don't want to do daily deposits. You want to do weekly deposits. Because it's easier for your bookkeeping, and then if they trust you, you say it matter-of-factly enough. That's basically what they're going to believe, and it's the truth too. It is a lot easier just to do weekly deposits.
Right.
So I'll give as many tricks as possible as far as a lot of times restaurant owners have their own preconceptions. They'll, just like I said, when you walk in, they'll say, I don't have internet. And you want to let them know immediately you don't need internet to process online orders. Your customers do, but you don't. And if you don't lose the sale there, then that's just like reeling in a fish. You gotta just keep giving them the business.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, I was. Any other questions here? Anybody? Will you help? Here's a great one. Will you help us with with the sales as far as the language we need to use when we go in, how to get a hold of the restaurant owner, basically the sales script. Is there a certain script that you guys use that you can share with us?
Yeah, let me put something together and send it to Carrie. Just maybe like a one paragraph kind of thing that will kind of reel them in. Just some tricks that I know is, when you go into a restaurant, even if you didn't get, the first stage is always reconnaissance, and you want to typically do that online. And then the second part, so reconnaissance online is, so you're going into Joe's Pizza in Davenport, Iowa. So the first thing you need to do is get online and search Joe's Pizza, Davenport, Iowa. And so that way you know what their website looks like, you know what other online ordering they have, if they do, if they're, super into Facebook and Twitter, they're probably techie. They're probably going to be an easier sell. If they have a garbage site that looks like it was made in 1992, it might be a little more difficult. So those are the things that you might, be able to come at, use to educate yourself before you go in. Now, when you're actually in the restaurant, there's a lot of times where you're not going to get the restaurant owner's name. You may not get an audience right away. So those are also still reconnaissance times. So you can still look around. You can see if they have a fax machine. You can see if they have POS systems. You can see if they have a Wi-Fi password somewhere to let you know if they're going to be able to get a tablet or a console. And then while you're there, even if they say the owner's not here, say, what's a better time to reach them? And who should I ask for? That's one of the keys. What's a better time to reach them, and who should I ask for? So a lot of times the employees, the staff, the management, even like hostesses are trained to do the screening for the restaurant owner. So when you go in and you say, can I talk to the owner? That lets them know this person doesn't know the owner. But if that time that you went in, you say, who do I ask for? They say, well, his name's Phil, and he's here typically around 2 o'clock. So the next time you come in and you ask for Phil, that employee does not know if you have an existing relationship with the restaurant owner or if you're just a sales rep. So those are little keys that will actually significantly increase your chances of closing the sale. So you go in and you talk to the hostess and you say, hey, I need to speak with Phil. The way you worded that lets her assume that you've known Phil for quite some time, or you're a vendor, or you're the guy that delivers the Pepsi. So they're gonna be a lot more forthcoming, and they're just gonna go to the owner and say, hey, somebody's here to see you.
That's excellent. And guys, that's just sales 101 there. And what you need to do is, especially even if you're not able to speak to someone before you go there, 99% of the time, I mean, if you'll pull that restaurant up on either LinkedIn or just search their website, or go to Manta, or go to the yellowpages.com, yp.com, you will probably find the owner's or the manager's name. Almost 90% of the time, that information is going to be public knowledge. If you go to their Facebook page, it almost says who the manager is. So that's a great point. Walk in and ask for somebody. Don't walk in and say, is the manager in, or is the owner in, or is the decision maker in? They're going to shut you down before you ever open the door. You won't even get to order a glass of tea before you leave.
One of the intros that I do is, I open with, and see, you guys are selling more than one product, so you're not always just selling Menufy. So, but the way I open is, hey, we do online ordering for restaurants. You don't need internet, and we are a free system for restaurants. If you have a couple minutes, I can explain how that works. And the free and the couple minutes lets them know that it's going to be short and that there's really no harm in listening because it's free. And so then the first thing you want to do is kind of explain how it's free. Well, you can charge your online users $1.25. There is a credit card fee. However, you already have a credit card fee in store. So it's going to be slightly higher than it is in store, but you already have a credit card fee. So it's essentially a free online ordering system, Actually, that made me think of something else. What other products are so you're only selling just an app while you're in there?
I know, we're selling we actually don't sell I don't sell an app. I sell our marketing platform. And our marketing platform is tied to our app, but our app is actually a place where we can collect email addresses and cell phone numbers so that we can text message market, we can email market, we can Facebook and Twitter market. So, and the app is kind of wrapped around that.
Okay. So another thing that you could possibly mention is that we will actually be doing their web listing for free. So their Google Places, their Yelp, their Urban Spoon, TripAdvisor, Yellow Pages, YellowBot, Manta, if we can get on it. All these web listings, we're actually going to be doing for them as a free service, because we don't make money unless our clients make money. If people can't find their online ordering, they're not going to order online. So that's another thing that you can kind of throw in that we add on. As soon as they're live, if they have a website or we make that website for them, regardless, we're still going to be promoting that website on their web listing.
Guys, that's huge right there. That is huge. People understand that. And, the first thing that people ask is how do, and they're going to ask you this because we get asked this all the time, how are they going to find my product? How are they going to find me? And if they're going to do all the listings free, that's another huge bonus.
And people pay hundreds of dollars for that kind of stuff. They'll pay companies like Yext I don't know if anyone's familiar with Yext. It's the YEXT. They'll pay companies like that hundreds of dollars a month just to maintain their listings, and we do that for free. So
there you go. Next question. Yes, Ashish will be back next week. Absolutely. Next week's webinar will be at 8 o'clock versus 7 o'clock. Actually, it's crazy, man. I'm telling you, I'm looking at people I've not seen in a webinar since we started this thing, and you guys came out tonight. We've got a great crowd tonight, and it's absolutely wonderful to see everybody. I would say friends and faces that I've not seen in a long time, but it's great to have everybody in tonight. And guys, and I know there's going to be questions we don't get answers tonight. I will get these questions, and Ashish and I will work it out for next week. Whatever questions don't get answered tonight, we're going to get to them first thing next week.
Perfect.
Have you received any orders from us at all, from any of the reps yet, Ashish, that you know of?
No submissions yet.
Okay. And I know it's only a week old. I mean, we launched it last week. So let me ask you this, and that somebody just posted this question just as I was fixing to ask this. What is the normal, let's say I walk into a restaurant today and I talk to somebody, and is yours normal a one-time, two-step process, three-step process? How many steps in your sales process does it normally take to get to the person that makes the decision and you get the deal?
2 is pretty good. If you get the audience on the first one, do not be surprised if you when I first started, my sales losses were my own fault. There were hesitation, there were a lack of full product knowledge, and then there's just certain things that, when somebody makes fun of you and then 5 minutes later you think of the comeback, but it's too late because it's 5 minutes later.
Right.
It's just like that. So you need to be analyzing your sale once you leave, and being able to be like, oh, what did I do wrong? So let me give you an example. Like I said, it's typically 2. You're going to get in there, you're going to make an introduction, and if you get to sit down, I doubt any of you are going to be able to do it right then and there, but you're going to learn from your mistakes. So the first couple are going to be forfeit, maybe. I don't know, unless you guys are all salesmen, so you could probably still close it. But the first few, you're going to learn things that it takes a little while to learn, and then you'll never make that same mistake again. So the first few sales I remember I went to, I'd have restaurant owners say something like, oh, we're too busy for online ordering. And I say, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And then I leave. And then in my car, I think to myself, that's ridiculous. Why did I give them that? You shouldn't give them that. That's not true. You can't be too busy for online ordering. You should tell them that if you're too busy, you need online ordering. You should definitely have online ordering. If you're too busy to answer the phone, then you should be able to process your orders faster. Why sit on the phone for 5 minutes taking somebody's order when you can have it directly sent to you? You have order accuracy. It's right in front of you. You don't even have to talk to anyone. And when the customer comes in, they can't say, oh, you didn't give me extra meatballs, because they wrote that down on their menu. That's in their order. If they didn't pay for extra meatballs, you don't owe them extra meatballs. So those are types of just little things that I'm not sure if I can cover for everyone, but there's tons of little things like that you'll go into. You may lose that sale. You may have to come back, and then they'll basically you might have just lost it. But hopefully that doesn't happen with the next restaurant, because you'll figure it out. Crap, why did I say that? If you gave an assertive answer, you may not have lost that sale, and you could have moved on to the next question.
That goes back to knowledge, guys. I tell you, you cannot. I'll say this 1,000 times. I'll say it with Ashish on here. I'll say it with Adam on here. If you do not study those FAQs, you're going to walk in unarmed. You might as well take the bullets out of your gun and put them in your pocket, because you are not going to know the answers, and you're going to stumble. And I can promise you this. And I grew up in the restaurant business. I was waiting tables at 7 years old. I understand the restaurant business. Ashish was in it for 10 years. He understands the restaurant business. You stumble and fall with a manager or owner of a restaurant, and you might as well just pack your stuff up and walk on out, because he's not going to waste his time with you. and he won't because he doesn't have time. You know, he's getting ready for the next meal, and his people are getting ready for the next meal. So if you stumble and fall, don't walk out and say, "Ah, this shit, man, this stuff don't work." It's because you walked in with no bullets in your gun, and you're going to get slaughtered. That's just the way. That's sales, and you've got to be knowledgeable about your product. So read those FAQs, read the FAQs, read the FAQs. If you don't do anything else, if you walk in armed with that knowledge, and I'm sure Ashish can attest to this because he just said you're going to lose some deals because you didn't know. If you walk in without knowledge, you're not going to win. You know, a football team don't get on the field without practicing. So understand it, know it, and work with your practice with your wife, your kids, anybody that'll listen to you. Your sales pitch. And have them ask you the FAQs.
Another thing I teach my reps is a lot of times you're going to catch someone at an inopportune time. So, you know, they might be a little bit busier than you expected, or they have a meeting with a different rep. So this will save your life, I promise. Do not be discouraged, but reschedule, reschedule, reschedule. I tell my reps this all the time, and the field reps have gotten better and better about it. If the restaurant owner says, hey, I'm real busy, don't just leave. Just say, hey, when can I come back? When's a good time to come back? I want to catch you when I'm not busy. It's not going to be a huge, long conversation, 10 minutes max. And, you know, honestly, you can say 10 minutes because if they're continuing to ask questions, they're not going to be upset that you broke that 10-minute mark because they're interested and they're asking questions. So that's definitely something that you should focus on. Reschedule, reschedule, reschedule.
And that's going to happen in the restaurant business. That is going to happen. There's nothing you can do about that. You know.
Yeah, it's not. And also, you know, when you're further along, a lot of times you'll get jaded. So you'll get 4 or 5 rejections, or just guys that are jerks. Maybe people that don't even deserve to own a restaurant. That happens every once in a while. I'm sure people within the industry will walk out and be like, geez, how does this guy own a restaurant? He didn't even listen to me. And what I do just mentally to prepare myself is remember the one that you closed. Remember the restaurant that you had a good time in. Remember the one where the owner poured you a beer and you sat down for 30 minutes and had a nice conversation. Don't when you walk into the restaurant, don't assume it's going to be a negative experience. Just remember the good ones and keep that mentality because it'll keep you friendly, it'll keep you smiling, and a lot of times, like these guys they're excuse my language, they're hard asses, and they're just kind of used to just the straightforward talk, and you know you might just have the wrong mental state. You might just be assuming that it's going to be a bad sales experience, and you just have to remember the times where it was actually fun. And you had a good sale that took 15 minutes, and you're in and out. And that's the mindset you should be in when you go in.
What is your guys have been doing this obviously for a while? What is their closure rate?
You know, it's all over the place, to be honest. It really depends on the situation, and there's so many variables. There's a lot of these restaurants will have 3 or 4 websites, but they won't have a website at all. It's 2014 and they don't even have a website. And then there'll be some that have 4 websites, and there'll be some that have one really nice website that they paid tons of money for. So they'll have a terrible website that some guy just came in and said, hey, I'll make a website for you, and they're like, sure, here's $600, and they left, and they never saw that guy again, but they have this garbage website to show for it. And the closing rate is really dependent on the client and the type of person and like how much they know and how much you can teach them. It's really all over the place as far as like how often you're going to be able to close. It's really dependent on the restaurant and what they need. I would say the pizza restaurants and Chinese, we have Chinese-speaking sales reps. But I would say pizza restaurants, delivery restaurants, sandwich shops, these are the ones that have the highest close rate. And that's mainly because they really need us. They need to compete with Domino's. And even the Chinese restaurants, they need to be able to compete with Panda Express. They need to be able to deal with P.F. Chang's and some of these like more Americanized brands of Chinese food. So the best restaurants are the ones that need us. typically pizza restaurants and stuff will do really well, and they'll listen because you're not the first person that told them online ordering. They might have said no to a lot of people, but I promise we have a good brand, and we certainly have a good price structure. So